With the Dow Jones Industrials down 58 points, even in light of a much better than expected December jobs report, and China's market stabilizing overnight, actually moving higher. This cannot help the outright ambush of that police officer in Philadelphia by an ISIS sympathizer wearing Muslim-style garb. You see that white gown he was wearing. He actually pushes his arm into the driver's side of the Philly police officer's vehicle. The Philadelphia Inquirer has reached the mother of the 30-year-old suspect, Edward Archer, and she has told that Inquirer reporter, quote, her son had suffered head injuries after playing football through his school years, that he was hearing voices and was a devout Muslim. Chilling moments show that gunman as he carried out the point-blank execution attempt on Officer Jeffy Hartnett. The suspect fired 13 times into the officer's patrol car. Hartnett was hit 3 times in the arm, but was still able, unbelievably, folks, to exit his patrol car, pursue, return fire, and hit Archer 3 times. Archer is now in custody. He has confessed his allegiance to the Islamic State. Here is the mugshot right now that we have for him. That's the guy who pledged his love and support for Allah and ISIS. Officials are detailing on exactly what he told them in a press conference earlier today. Listen.
Is this cowardly act in the name of Islam. According to him, he believed that the police defend laws that are contrary to the teachings of the Quran.
Investigators are searching for any ties to terror and have not classified the shooting as a terrorist attack yet, even though, as you heard, Mr. Archer, whose photograph, that was not the mugshot, the photograph shows that he is a man who had felt strongly toward ISIS and toward Allah, and as he approached that officer, he was wearing Muslim garb. Now, the shooting in Philadelphia obviously weighing, you could say weighing on the market slightly here, because we should have been much higher, considering we saw a build of 292,000 jobs for the month of December. That was way better than expected, but it raises questions about a lot of issues, whether it's the psychology of investors or the psychology of social media, whose stocks have certainly been watched throughout this year, and social media's unwitting role in radicalizing American-born ISIS sympathizers. Was this suspect recruited by ISIS, somehow online radicalized? Did the internet play a role? The White House today holding a meeting in Silicon Valley about that very subject and to brainstorm with the tech world to work together. The senior Obama administration officials who are meeting in San Jose have been met with major tech executives from industry heavyweights such as Apple, Microsoft, Twitter, and Facebook. Fighting terror online is a battle that never sleeps. Take a look at the hundreds of videos that popped up when we searched how to make a bomb. They explain the whole thing, whether it's a pipe bomb or a basic bomb. And then take a look at how easy it is to watch one of the videos that popped up when we Googled how to make a suicide vest. They show it. They have video of exactly how to put these vests together, and we know that the San Bernardino shooters had gone online and possibly learned how to make a suicide vest like this that are still today unbelievably out on the web. So Twitter has said, look, we're trying, but it's still an effort that looks more like whack-a-mole, trying to take down ISIS accounts as quickly as they pop up. Just look at this tweet we found, lauding the Charlie Hebdo attack in Paris at this time last year and encouraging others to, quote, do their part. As you know, 2 radicalized French Muslims murdered 11 at that satirical magazine and killed a French police officer execution style as he fled. As the White House grapples with the Internet's role, the question right now in fighting ISIS's recruitment efforts online is, do we have to sacrifice freedom of speech to fight ISIS online? Lieutenant Colonel and former Congressman Alan West says no, we can actually do both. We're also joined by Zuhdi Jasser. He is also here. He's the founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. First to you, Zuhdi, I have to begin by asking at first glance, what does this police attack in Philadelphia look like to you? He was wearing Muslim garb, and he has told police allegedly that he supports Allah and the fight for ISIS.
Well, Liz, clearly, I mean, we're going to find some of the same pattern that we think is always isolated. I mean, I pray that I'm not going to hear the term lone wolf from experts, because these are not lone wolves. They're part of the same Islamo-patriotic movement, Islamo-nationalists, those that believe that they are in a war against the West and they belong to the Islamic State mentality. It's a virus of an ideology that's spreading around the planet. And ultimately, it's the same thing we saw in the attack in the Ottawa Parliament against a soldier there, the attack that beheaded Lee Rigby in London, the attack on Chattanooga, where that shooter 2 days before, Abdulaziz, wrote on the internet and web posting that he wanted to establish Islam. You know, listen, folks, it's the same pathology, and we Muslims need to wake up to counter political Islam, the ideology that demonizes the West and wants to establish not only ISIS, but any Islamic State. And until our social media folks, our White House, our government, our Homeland, you start focusing on that ideology, which is, I hope, what they're doing in Silicon Valley, like you said, it's going to continue to be a whack-a-mole program.
Well, I think that those are excellent points. And Lieutenant Colonel, you talk about, let's just say that this suspect, Archer, had no contact with anybody from ISIS. He could still go online. And that is what the meeting with the White House and the Silicon Valley executives is about today. And everybody knows that this country is based on freedom of speech. Can we have both? Can we have freedom of speech, but also shut down this hate that is actually giving people a primer on exactly how to make suicide vests and to shoot police officers?
Well, Liz, it's a pleasure to be with you, and also with Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. And as Dr. Jasser said, it takes the will of our leadership to be able to identify this ideological enemy and to start looking at seditious speech and seditious actions that you see across the Internet. I'm hoping that what is going on out in Silicon Valley is not just a photo op, although Carly Fiorina has been talking about working with them. But think about what has happened in this week. You have seen this video about a ISIS university for bomb making. We found out today that in a police raid in Belgium that they had a bomb making factory there. On the anniversary of Charlie Hebdo, you had the attack of a Paris police station. Today we had 2 people arrested in Sacramento and Houston on charges of supporting Islamic terrorism. You know what just happened today in Philadelphia, well, last night actually. Yeah. But yet, what is the response of the president? He is releasing people from Guantanamo Bay, and his answer to the terrorist attack in San Bernardino was gun control. So you have a total disconnect.
Well, and you know, we can show that video again because it is out there of showing, Zuhdi, exactly how to make a bomb. And, you know, you look at what happened in San Bernardino. They basically had a pipe bomb factory in their garage. And you can look on the web and see this. And this goes back to from, you know, the Columbine shootings, where there was a lot online, too. It is a very, very tenuous line and a very, very scary tightrope to walk, where you don't want to shut down free speech. But, you know, Lieutenant Colonel mentioned the word seditious. You know, maybe we need to be actually deciding, and I don't know who the decider becomes. You've been you've been at the force of this. What do we do?
Well, I think we need to be careful on one thing, which is I completely agree with the Colonel that speech that advocates violence, imminent acts of violence, just as our Supreme Court ruled in Bradbury versus Ohio, that if they're preaching violence, it needs to be shut down, bomb making, etc., that's not free speech. But if they're preaching things that may sound seditious, that may sound anti-American, anti-Semitic, we can better monitor that by giving them the freedom to do that, as we do with the Nazi Party, the Communist Party, and others. Countries that push these types of ideas underground, it might give us a short-term solution, but long-term, as Tajikistan and others have shown, it actually causes them to fuel, and you can't monitor them anymore, which is why Europe, which has hate speech laws, has much bigger problem with radical Islam, because it's much more difficult to monitor when you push them underground. Well, so I think we have to navigate. Yeah.
That's a great point. I mean, people are arrested here if they spray paint a swastika on a synagogue, or they do something that it's hate, and that those are hate crimes. So if we have violence that is inspired by these kinds of videos, I certainly think that matters. Congressman, Lieutenant Colonel, because you wear both hats, I have to ask you, because our markets have gyrated, and this matters to voters and it matters to citizens here. When a news headline like this hits, compiling that with what's going on in China and the market frazzle action there, does that weigh on an investor or a citizen's mind to say, I just want to almost shut down at this moment, or even people who hire and companies that grow?
Well, you're absolutely right. You consider what happened in the aftermath of the terrorist attacks of 9/11, and there can be no doubt that your economic security is related to your national security. And if people feel safe and secure, they are going out and they're investing money, they're getting to work, and they're doing things, they're spending money. But right now, there is an incredible anxiety in the United States of America of people wondering, can I go out? You hear the focus or the agenda of the White House and the President of the United States of America is not about identifying this enemy ideologically and coming up with the policies and the solutions which keep the American people safe and provide them a real sense of security. Then you see these type of reactions in the market as well.
Well, America's stronger than all of this, I have to believe, because I just came from the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, where people are creating all kinds of technology and moving forward with great innovative ideas. So we have to believe in that American entrepreneurial spirit. Colonel Allen West, Zuhdi Jasser, thank you. You may want to stay and listen